Welcome back to Central Valley Talk. I'm your host, Mike Briggs. Oh, he's already on the screen. Vincent Ray Petrucci, who I just met, by the way, and we have so much in common. You're an author, a nurse, a farmer. We don't have that in common, but we're talking about we graduated from the same year in high school. We're both in Future Farmers, him in Madera, me from Clovis, and we're real, this true Valley story, the two of us.
Yes, yes.
Now, you have written some books.
Yeah,
And by the way, I have the covers here. I'm going to pop those up there. This is the first one, The End of the Closet Curiosity. And that was written when?
That was published in April of 2022. My
Okay.
publishing company, Inks and Bindings, out of Costa Mesa, California, via Cebu, Philippines. So
Okay,
they,
through the Philippines.
yes.
And this is a new one, the newest one?
Yes, called Tule Fog Wary. And this was published on Inks and Bindings. You can find it on Inks and Bindings and also Amazon.com. And this was released in September of 2022, Mike.
Now, we're talking about our rich traditions here in the Valley. Do these books reflect those traditions?
Well, I think that End of the Closet Curiosity does reflect that because it talks a little bit about a young man growing up with his grandparents. They happen to be my Italian grandparents, so we call them nonna, and just some of the interesting things that students, kids, did back when they were growing up.
Yeah.
And yeah, it does relate a little bit to the Valley. I mean, because it's a farm, and now we have all of these the buildings and the shopping centers where before we had family farms, and so this just talks a little bit about those family farms and how a young man can try to figure out what's going on, at his grandparents' house.
At his grandparents. You called them what now?
Nonno and nonna, which is grandfather and grandmother in Italian.
In Italian. Were they from Italy?
They're from Italy,
Yeah,
yes.
Were they the first generation to come?
They were first generation. My nonna came over, actually had the boat that she came over, and she came over through Ellis Island, and she's there. And that was in the early 20s. And then my grandfather came through Canada. So another Petrucci family that was there in Madera, Dominic Petrucci, sponsored my nonno, and they came through Ellis Island, and yes, they lived there in Tuscany.
Did they meet here?
No, they met there,
Okay.
and they actually were both with the last name Petrucci, so they got married and they came here. My nonno came right after World War I, so he was in World War I, fight actually with the Italians, and they're in Austria and what have you, so
Oh, boy.
that's another story, but yes.
So they are from Tuscany then?
They're, Toscana,
Toscana, and then to New York, and then...
And then into Madeira.
Into Madeira,
Yeah, and
of all
they,
places.
so they would say, I go over to Italy quite often to see my cousins there, and, they would say, your nonno muore di fame. Muore di fame, he was dying of hunger, and that's why he came to the United States, like so many of the immigrants did at that time. But they lived about this book that I wrote, End of the Closet. It was a reoccurring dream that happened, Mike, and so, but that closet is in that house that's still standing, and it was in my nonna's house, and my nonno built that house. But anyway, so it talks about that house and that closet and the curiosity of this young man, what is behind that door.
Do you think the Valley, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but we have a rich vineyard valley here.
Yes.
Do you think it's because Italian people came here, or do you think they came here because,
Well, I think that what happens if it was the Italian or the Spanish or the Basque or the French or, even in the Dust Bowl that they came from the Midwest, there were hardworking individuals, and they were self-contained, so they had their farms, whether it was vineyard or corn or what have you, and I know one story is that they had the Mission Bell wineries over in Madera, and that's right there off of Constellation, is one of the biggest wineries in the world. I think Ernest and Julio Gallo have bought it back now, but they did have the Mission Bell Winery, so they had these like work visas. I'm not
They
certain,
could bring people
and they
over
would
on
bring
work
people,
visas,
and they would have small farms. You know,
Yeah.
they would have 20 acres,
Yeah.
and back then, you know, folks would start on small farms, and they would work the land.
Funny, just thinking, we're not that old, you and I.
No,
I
no,
know exactly
no, no.
how old you are because we graduated from high school
Yeah.
the same year. But all these companies we remember from the old days, Mission Bell and
Yes.
things like that, is amazing. Now, this
Yeah.
second book is intriguing. Even the cover just pulls me in.
Yeah.
I say, Tule Fog Wary,
Yes.
and tell us about that.
Well, Tule Fog was, of course, Tule Fog, if you know, is in the valley and has been in the valley for a long time. We hadn't seen it for a long, many years because, change of weather, what have you, lack of rain. But it comes in when there's like moist land. It's called Tule Fog because of the tule plant that grows in the lowlands. So therefore, they call it Tule Fog, and it is one of the most dangerous fogs that they have. Other than I think there's the black fog that they have a lot in Asia and what have you. But anyway, and I grew up with it. So I grew up, driving tractors there, driving cars, and and you're driving slow, and so this book does talk about a young man. The character's name is Lorenzo, and he's out of high school, just out of high school, and he's working on his family farm, and he's married. He has his wife in the book. His name is Flynn, and his son is named Sandino, and or Santo, Sandino Santo, and it goes in. It starts off similar to Into the Closet, kind of jovial and a nice story, but it gets a little dark. And it actually talks about an unfortunate event that took place in 1997. It was a home invasion at my parents' house. And so this is a true story. Names have been changed, but it's a true story. And it was on my heart to get it out there and to talk about actually what had happened that night. January the 9th, 1997. We had come back from a catering job. My family had a catering business, and 9 o'clock at night, the Tule Fog had set in. You couldn't see 10 feet.
People couldn't see the house from the road.
People
probably.
couldn't see the house from the road. We lived out off of in the country in Madera on the west side, and the only thing I remember is that I got a phone call from my sister and saying that there was a problem, and so thank God that they lived through it. But that was 1997, and it still kind of increases my heart rate today when I talk about it, because it really left the family in a bad state.
Yeah.
Until now,
Right.
and of course now my parents have died in 2016, but I wanted to express it, and I wanted to get it out
got
there.
it out there, and it's in the book.
It's in a book. It's not a very long book, but I encourage people to go on Amazon.com, and it's a short, easy read, and it's really, it gives you a sense of being, to be able to express yourself, freedom of speech,
Yep.
and it's lovely to actually write.
And by the way, I meant to say congratulations, because like I always say, anybody could write a book. Few people can finish writing, put the pencil down, say, okay, I'm done, and then get it into this format. I don't even know how you do that part.
Well, Inks and Bindings is a company that's, like I say, down in Costa Mesa. I had some friends, and they said, yeah, we have this publishing company. And I said, no, really? And so just one thing led to another, Mike. I want to give recognition or recognition is due to Edgar Ruiz. He is the artist that finished the sketches for me. I came up with the plan, and then he put the fine print to them.
This part here?
Yes.
Yeah, this is, and I commented earlier, this is intriguing. It just pulled me right in.
Yeah. And
the cover makes a book. A cover makes a book often.
yeah, and
Because you got to get people to pick it up and read it.
Yeah. It's. I mean, but as these books are, like Mike had said, these are children's books, so you can't really always judge the book by the cover. Right. So they're really not children's books.
Really not. A little dark turn. I thought this one maybe.
Yeah.
That's just a beautiful cover, colorful cover.
Well, and that cover kind of came from, if you're going east on 145 to Table Mountain.
Yep.
If you see those, you see that kind of a
Little
look.
snow-capped look.
Yes, yes, you see that snow.
On a good day, you see them.
Yeah.
When
Today,
it clears up and
today it's really a
Yeah.
nice day, and it's yeah, right, and a good day like it used to be, So anyway, yeah, this into the closet. It's something. It was a reoccurring dream, and so finally I said to myself,
let's write it down.
I have to write it down.
Yeah.
I have to write it down, and I have to, get it out there. And yeah, it's changed around a little bit, but
Now, did you
it was
write
fun.
these during COVID?
Well, COVID was when I did start writing. What I was doing, I was writing a autobiography, and so the autobiography, I just said I'm going to start writing about, what life was, here in the valley, myself, etc. Talked about FFA, sports, and it was up to 200 pages, So I said no. So I just extrapolated some parts of that. And and put it down.
Were you out of work for COVID? You were a nurse?
No, I'm a nurse, but I'm employed, Merced City School District. I work there, and I've been there, working, quite a while, going on 20 years. And so we were working from home, and we had Zoom and what have you. So we still worked, and it was a little bit of a challenge.
Kind of a stir-crazy time. And
Oh, yeah.
you were able to sit down through that and just type out.
Well, I'm a morning person, so I'm up at 3 in the morning, and
Farmer stuff.
Most people,
Were you disciplined about it? Or did you have to be disciplined, or you just was a natural thing?
I was disciplined, but I enjoyed what I was doing when I was writing. So I wanted to finish it because I wanted to see the final, project when I was done and completed it. And so it really wasn't any kind of, it wasn't, a stressful event. I mean, I really kind of enjoyed it.
That's nice.
And I felt, as you stated, people say they're going to write a book, and then they never write a book. And so I said,
Or they write and write and write, and they just don't know how to stop.
and it's never put on paper. And so now, I mean, I've with a couple different companies trying to promote it. It's not really sitting out any place like at Barnes and Nobles. I guess I'm considered a self-published author, where you would have someone like a famous person, ex-President Barack Obama or Bill O'Reilly that. They pay them, or Mike Briggs.
Right.
They pay you. Said, write a book.
I love Amazon now. I mean, I'm not promoting Amazon in any way, but man, you go there, you click the book,
Yeah.
you just click it, and it shows up.
Yeah.
I get free shipping because I'm on Prime or something. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but it's a very good way to shop for books now.
Yes.
And you kind of search by subjects and stuff. And I love Valley history and stories based on and around the Valley. So this really fits the bill there.
Yeah, and I think both of these books do, in a sense, that people can read them and that have grown up in the farms, or don't even really have to be the farms, just growing up with their grandparents. And nowadays, we have so much social media or the text.
Yeah.
Back in my day, my father used to tell me, "Did you go see your grandparents today?"
Yeah.
Every day,
Yeah.
not just to see your parents, but go see your grandparents.
Grandparents,
I go see them. Not a phone call. Of course.
Not a text or a
No, it's
Facebook
really,
to your grandma.
Yeah, no. Well, they didn't have that back then. I mean, my day there was a party line out there.
Party line in Madeira. What area were you out there in Madeira?
I'm in the
Growing?
Howard district.
Okay.
So in Madeira, so it would be.
Is that where you grew up?
That's where I grew up,
be down
and I
there.
still live on some of the original land that my grandparents had purchased in 1923.
Oh, my
so you could do the
goodness.
math. So it's
Yeah.
100 years old.
After World War One.
Yeah, after
and
World
before
War.
World War Two.
Yes,
Wow.
before World War II, and then my nonna come over here, and there was a lot of Italians, in Madeira at that time. Myself growing up, in those years in the 70s, and of course I finished high school in 77. Mike knows, Fresno maybe was, I don't know, maybe 150,000 people. We were at 18,000. My favorite was to come down here with my mom and dad to eat at Luigi's.
Luigi's, yeah.
Over there off of Blackstone. So, I mean, that was way back,
Was it a big deal to come to town?
Oh, it was a big deal to come
Yeah.
to Fresno, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Luigi's.
And
Oh, my
Luigi's,
gosh.
and and yeah, that was I can still remember the peppers they had there, and yeah, there wasn't a lot of places to go eat in those days, so
No.
yeah, Fresno was a big thing.
I'm going to put these books up here and just leave them up there for a few minutes after we go off the air, and people can kind of take a look at those. And,
Thank you.
And go to Amazon, for goodness sakes. You know what I do sometimes? I'll buy 10 books and give them to my dad and my brothers and my cousins. Hey, let's all read this at the same time. So that's what I'm telling you, people who love the Valley and Valley stories, do that. Go buy 10 of them. That's not, they're not.
I think it's $9.99 and $10.99. They're inexpensive. I mean,
The other thing I do, I'm like you. When he walked in, he presented me with a bottle of wine that he made.
Vino Vincenzo calls.
So when I go to someone's house, I always take something. And why take something they don't need or use? I take a book sometimes. Says, here, I just read this. I want you to read it. So,
I think that when I was talking to Lena about this, and she told me about you, and I really appreciate you letting me come on. I feel honored to be on this. Is that that they might have something where people have done something, whether it's cooking or broadcasting or a knack that they have, and have a fair with that. All these different kinds of things.
Things
Maybe
people do.
Things people do. Exactly. Something that maybe that can be the title.
Vincent, Ray, Petrucci, we're out of time. Anything else you want our viewers to know?
No, I just really want to give a big thanks here to Mike Briggs and the opportunity to come here in Fresno, here in the Tower District, and thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll have you
Appreciate
back again. Come again and again if you like.
Okay, thank you.
Write another book, Vince.
Yeah, okay.
All right, we're going to close on put these 2 books up so you guys can see them, write down the titles, and order them. We'll be back with more right after this.